Thanks for all the early birds for joining. We start another 5 minutes, so we'll just give people that time to arrive and then get started. All right. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to everyone who is joining this webinar. I'm super excited to talk with you today. Before I get into my presentation, just a couple of quick housekeeping items. If you have any questions along the way, please use the Q&A tab in the panel to ask them, and I'll be addressing as many of those as I can at the end of today's webinar. Meanwhile, if you have any support issues or technical difficulties, please use the chat and reach out to our support team, which is standing by to help you. All right. Well, let's begin. I can't tell you how excited I am to talk with you all today. It was just about 7 years ago that I was just starting to build Brighttail. And I was introduced to Communardo, a platinum Atlassian Marketplace partner in Germany, who you probably all know. And that gave me the opportunity to attend my first Atlassian Summit back in 2017 in San Jose. It was a really eye-opening experience for me, learning about the incredible Atlassian platform and this amazing ecosystem of add-ons that was growing up around it. So I really love the tools. I love the people and the values within the ecosystem, and I was excited about all of the growth that I was seeing. As a young entrepreneur, I also saw opportunity. I saw that there were a lot of marketplace partners who needed to figure out how to build their marketing programs and really scale their businesses for the first time ever. And so I decided to make the Atlassian ecosystem one of our centers of excellence. We adopted the tools within our business as well as the methodologies. We went agile, and I can't say how impactful that was for us as a business. And then I attended a number of summits over the years and had the opportunity to actually meet with many of you on the webinar to learn more about what you are working on and explore how we could potentially help. So it feels like this webinar is like coming full circle for me. This is my first webinar, so I'm super amped up about it. It's a big audience, so I'm a little anxious, but bear with me, I'll settle down as we go along. But Atlassian has been such a huge part of our success as a business, and we've had the opportunity to grow up and grow our business alongside many wonderful marketplace partners. And so it's really rewarding for me to be here with you today, to be able to see some of the people I've met over the years, and then also share some insights and experiences that will hopefully set you up for success in 2024. All right, so let's get into it. As mentioned, we've been within the ecosystem for 7 years now. During that time, we've had the opportunity to work with some really incredible partners. And the interesting thing about our experience here and the way we work is, in many of these cases, we've basically functioned as the outsourced marketing department for these partners. And so that's meant that we've had the same level of ownership and accountability around goals and growth as your marketing teams have. And it also means that we've seen and had to work through the same challenges that you've been dealing with. We've had the advantage because we also work in B2B SaaS outside of the marketplace. And so we've had the opportunity to test and experiment with strategies that we've seen work well in other areas of B2B SaaS and other B2B markets, apply those within the marketplace. And sometimes they work, sometimes they don't. Obviously, we cherry pick the ones that have been successful, incorporate those into our playbook. And so today I'm going to be opening up our playbook with you, basically sharing 3 of our most successful and effective plays. And I think based on what I tend to see when talking with new prospects and auditing partner marketing channels. These are plays that are underutilized within the ecosystem. So I'm really hopeful that you guys can take some of this, apply it within your businesses, and see some results this year. All right. So, marketing is a solution. So before I jump into our plays, I think it's really important for us to get clear on the problem that we're solving. So I'm going to start out by talking about the context and how changes within the ecosystem over the last decade and over the last few years in particular are impacting partners. This is going to help us understand why some of the things that worked a few years ago aren't as effective today. Then I'm going to talk about the evolving marketing playbook, looking at how it evolved, 5 years ago, and then how it's evolving now, in order to overcome some of the challenges that we're seeing within the marketplace. And then rounding this out, I'll share with you 3 of our most effective plays that will help you secure new competitive advantages and drive growth in the year ahead. All right. So the Atlassian Marketplace is a really unique place and an incredible place to be. From the start, it gave app developers a platform where they could build successful, sustainable businesses without investing in marketing, and that was really unique. So, hundreds of businesses have benefited from the Atlassian Marketplace formula, and many of them are on today's webinar. So in the early years, it was pretty easy, right? You could find a problem to solve, a valuable problem. You could publish your app, and you could sit back and watch the organic sales come in. But things have changed, right? Over the last 12 years now, the marketplace has grown from 60 apps at inception to well over 5,000 today. And so what that means is that before, where potential buyers would only find 1 to 2 apps to solve a particular problem, these days they're likely to find a dozen or more. And so that means that as marketplace partners and marketers, we have a lot more competition that we're dealing with, and it's much more difficult to drive differentiation and to be able to capture that audience. And so over the last few years, it's begun to seem like building your app is the easy part. The hard part is actually building the digital marketing funnel. And it's also a very critical component, right? Because you need to find a way to figure out marketing in order to build a sustainable, scalable business. So this means building out new marketing technology infrastructure, means investing in new channels like paid advertising and organic search and social media, and then building campaigns on top of that, as well as the team needed to do all of that. So it's gotten very competitive, very complicated. And it doesn't help that within the marketplace, you also have to work within a very specific set of constraints. So, I think the challenges around tracking and attribution are pretty well known. The solutions aren't always well understood. What it has translated into is that it can be difficult for us as marketers and for business owners to be able to get the data that we need to make informed decisions about our investments in marketing. Additionally, our customers, our app customers aren't actually our customers, right? They're Atlassians. And the marketplace, for better or for worse, puts a lot of constraints on what we can do with those contacts, really handcuffing marketers' ability to effectively nurture audiences and then later on upsell and cross-sell them. And then a particular challenge around the marketplace is the lack of access to end users. This makes it really difficult for us to get valuable customer feedback to inform our product development and marketing efforts. It also makes it challenging when it comes to building out customer success stories and social proof and things like that. So these are some of the challenges that we as marketers face when building sustainable and scalable marketing programs. So before I jump into the plays and talk about how the playbook itself has evolved, I just want to quickly check in with you guys to learn about what you're seeing and what you see as your biggest marketing challenges entering 2024. So if you could just take a minute to complete this quick poll, I'd love to get greater insight into what the ecosystem as a whole is prioritizing in the coming year. All right, team, I think that's probably good. Do you want to close out the poll? All right, awesome. Thanks everyone for sharing your feedback there. Let's talk about the marketing playbook and how that's been evolving. So the strategies for winning in the marketplace have mirrored in some ways changes in strategies within B2B SaaS in general. We already talked about when the marketplace initially launched, you didn't really need marketing at all. You could basically build it and they will come. But after the marketplace grew, and within the first 4 years there, it grew to over 2,000 apps. Competition really increased and became important to build a funnel. So this is right around the time where we were getting started in the marketplace, and when we were talking to and working with new clients, what we were finding is that they were seeing evaluations start to plateau, evaluations in sales, or even decline. And as we dug into our audits and things like that, we realized that a lot of times that was the direct result of having new competitors that had entered in the market who were investing in building their digital marketing funnels, or to have established competitors who were building their funnels. And so our clients in those early days had to play catch up, and we helped them build their infrastructure and their campaigns and channels in order to do that and really reignite growth. Now it's gotten even more challenging because everyone, it seems, in the marketplace it has the same playbook, and so a lot of us are doing the same things. writing blog posts, we're building case study libraries, we're running ads. And so it's become harder to rise above the noise. And it's a lot more competitive, trying to really win a small subset of customers, buyers who are actively looking for a solution. So these days, where we've been seeing the most success is by creating demand with new audiences. So let me explain a little more. So the world of people who could potentially benefit from your app is a lot larger, right, than the number of people who are actively searching for a solution right now. Across B2B markets, this is called the 95-5 rule. And the research shows that at any given time, basically 5% of potential buyers are actively searching for a solution. The other 95% are either not aware that they have a problem or they haven't assigned it enough urgency to invest in it and to find a solution. Um, and so in this environment where everyone is competing and a large number of competitors are basically competing for the 5%, that is why we're seeing acquisition costs go up and growth slow down. There's just not enough buyers to go around, and it's harder to win the ones that are buying. So the key to long-term growth here is really learning how to create demand and real demand with new audiences. So the traditional marketing funnel, the one that we worked with for many years and many of you have as well, is effectively focused on capturing demand and converting demand. The new demand engine adds an additional stage, which is creating demand with new audiences, and this is where our long-term growth and where massive growth potential exists. So I know this is a bit conceptual. In the next section, I'm going to show you what this actually looks like in terms of real strategies and campaigns, and hopefully that helps you apply it to your businesses. All right, so that brings us to our 3 plays for 2024. The first one, creating demand. You know, I've talked about how competitive the marketplace right now, and how oversaturated marketing channels are. Everyone's using the same strategies and tactics in order to go after this small portion of people who are actively buying. So the opportunity, and where our clients have seen some pretty big success, is creating demand with new audiences. And so this is going to offer 2 important advantages to your marketing program. One is going to be lower acquisition costs, because everyone's competing for the 5%. For the most part, they're ignoring the 95%. So that means you have less competition there. Secondly, when you're going broad and going after the 95%, you can loosen up your targeting criteria, and this is going to reduce things like your advertising costs. So that's one important advantage, lower acquisition costs. The other important advantage is, you know, higher win rates, basically. You know, the research shows that 80% of the time, buyers choose the brand that first introduced them to the problem and help them to define their solution requirements and solution vision. And so when you're creating demand with these new audiences, you have the opportunity to be in that position. And, you know, to put it a different way, what that means is that you have the opportunity to win these buyers, oftentimes without having to go to a competitive bake-off. And so that can be a big advantage as well. So how do you do this? Well, we're going to want to create content and campaigns that educate buyers on their problem and the value in solving it. We really want to create urgency for change here. And so let me give you an example of what this looks like. An example of a campaign that we worked on for Comunardo. So Comunardo has this really wonderful little app, metadata for Confluence, and it not only improves content management within Confluence, it also enables some pretty powerful use cases, like being able to build product directories and other automatically updated aggregated overviews. So it has some pretty powerful capabilities within it that it unlocks. But as the Comunardo team said, it's a very German app. You know, not a lot of people in the world are looking for solutions around metadata. So the opportunity for us and Comunardo was really to educate audiences on what they could do with metadata in Confluence and, you know, create that demand. So the way that we did that, we really had a three-prong approach here. One was a creative campaign that built out these magical use cases, these magical things that you could do with metadata in Confluence. This allowed us to engage this audience and then drive them to our content, which was basically an ebook or a spell book on all the magical things you can do with metadata in Confluence. So this really helped create awareness for the problems that metadata for Confluence solves. And we paired this with customer success stories. So showing buyers how other businesses have innovated and solved various challenges within Confluence using metadata. And so what we did with this last element in terms of the success stories was we integrated those into our retargeting campaigns. Because we'll talk more about retargeting later, but you know, when you're creating demand, you're taking people who are basically problem unaware. So they're pre-funnel effectively. You're taking them from awareness through consideration and decision. That tends to be a longer buying journey for them, just from where they started, than with your typical buyer who already knows they have a problem and they're searching for a solution in Google, right? So having a retargeting component to your campaign is really critical in order to reintroduce the brand to them. Show them how others are winning, and you know, convey the value that your solution, or reinforce the value that your solution delivers to them. So those are three components that I recommend looking at when you're creating demand. You know, you're probably going to want to use some sort of ad campaign and maybe pair that with organic social. The key thing here is just the understanding that since people don't know how they have a problem, they're not in Google searching for answers. And so we need a mechanism and channels that we can use in order to build that initial awareness with them. So you're going to want some sort of creative campaign, likely. You're going to want content that educates them on the problem and the value that they'll achieve from solving it, and then retargeting to help increase your conversions and ensure that they complete their buying journeys with you. All right, so that's play number one. Play number two, building topical authority to leap up the search engine results page. So this is a great play for demand capture. It can also be used for creation, but it's more valuable these days with capture, I think, with how saturated the search channel has become. So I think it's no secret these days that content marketing and blogging in particular is the key to driving search performance and traffic growth and ultimately evaluations growth. And so everyone, it would seem, is publishing blog posts. That means that organic search has become very saturated, and it's increasingly difficult to be able to secure a spot on the first page. So how do you get your content to outrank your competitors, ensuring that your brand and your product gets in front of potential buyers first? Building topical authority and topic clusters is the answer. And the key element there is you want to look beyond just traditional blog posts and optimization tactics, and instead look to understand user needs and user problems and really anchor your content and SEO strategy around that. This is ultimately going to pay off because Google's mission is to be able to help people solve their searches and information needs. And so key ranking factor, number one ranking factor is being able to demonstrate to Google that you are solving those user needs. So, when you build your strategy from the ground up with the user at the heart of it, that's going to drive your search engine optimization performance and rankings and traffic growth. So the goal here with this play is to become a one-stop shop for answers. You want to think about all of the questions buyers must answer on their way to making a purchase decision. And you want to make it easier for them to find those answers with you on your website. And the way that you can do that is by restructuring your existing content around topic clusters. This is great because chances are you probably already have a ton of great content that is helping users solve these problems in the form of blog posts and documentation. Just by taking a more strategic approach to how you're structuring it and architecting the user experience can pay huge dividends in terms of your search performance. So, I'm not sure if we have anyone from Adaptivist on today's webinar, but they've really been crushing it with their content and SEO strategy. I thought it'd be relevant to just kind of share that as a reference with the team today. Adaptivist work around really owning the category of collaborative work management has been really inspiring, actually. So there's a couple of different elements, and I'll break this down separately. But there's basically a solution hub, which is it's a solution hub for the collaborative work management category. It enables Adaptivists to really establish thought leadership around collaborative work management while also guiding users to relevant products, services, and resources. And then around this solution hub, there is a network of topic clusters dedicated to funneling users to relevant content and ultimately to the solutions hub. So this is kind of a high-level, non-exhaustive overview of the content architecture that they're using right now. And I think it's really interesting. I encourage you to go and dive deeper into it. And what you'll discover is actually within each piece of content, within each entry point into this, is a carefully crafted web of information paths that help take users along their buying journeys. And so this is a really valuable strategy. If you think about it as an end user, someone who is searching for information, I myself, when I'm learning something new, start a Google search. I'll click on every page on Google, open it up in a new tab. I'll skim through those tabs, close them out. Occasionally, I'll find one that they don't just have that great content there, but it links to another piece of great content and another and another. And before I know it, I have 10 tabs open up just by that one brand. And that's what this type of approach is delivering to Adaptivists and its users. And it's how you can better service your user needs through your content structure and strategy. So the solution hub component is optional. It's really valuable if you're trying to establish category ownership, and even more so if you have multiple products or solutions within the category. The key element here is really wanting to organize your content into these topic clusters. For that, you're going to want to anchor each topic cluster with a pillar page. And so a pillar page is going to be a high-level overview, providing a broad overview of the various topics related to that theme, and linking to in-depth articles that are going to dive into the topics. As a next step, you're going to want to strategically interlink this content in order to create conversion paths that help users advance on their journey. So, ultimately, the really valuable thing about this strategy is you're going to find that users are spending more time on your page, they're visiting more pages, spending more time on the site, and eventually they're going to end up, on your marketplace listing. Google sees these activities, time on page, pages visited, time on site, and it says this is a brand that is really meeting users' needs. Let me elevate it in the search rankings. So this has been a killer strategy that we see consistently performing well within the marketplace ecosystem, especially since many brands are just focused on blogging and don't have this more strategic approach behind their content right now. All right, so the key components here are going to be the solution hub. Again, it's optional, but it's valuable for establishing that thought leadership and guiding people to your products and resources. The pillar pages are the pillar that supports the topic cluster. It's going to be a longer form piece of content that broadly covers the main topics and guides people to relevant content across the funnel. And then you're going to have that supporting content that is building out the rest of the topic cluster. And yeah, I'm willing to bet chances now you probably have a lot of that tofu, mofu, bofu content. It's really just about doing an audit of it and being able to restructure it around these pillar pages. All right, so that brings us to our last play, retargeting. So retargeting is an integral part of any marketing program, and it's especially valuable in B2B, including within the marketplace. I know we have some people who aren't familiar with marketing, so just so that we're all on the same page, retargeting is being able to take visitors to your website and marketplace who have visited your website or marketplace listing or engaged with your social media platforms, videos, things like that, and then be able to continue to serve them ads that hopefully bring them back to your marketplace to convert. So consumer brands do this all the time. If you go and look at a pair of shoes at the Nike store, you're going to see Nike ads everywhere you go for the next couple of weeks, right? Well, this is really valuable in B2B and in the marketplace because the buying journeys are so long. And so you may have a buyer who is investigating your app. They consume some content. Maybe they even visited the marketplace listing, but they didn't convert. Maybe they got busy. Maybe they're looking at the competition, or maybe they just can't be hassled to request an installation. They haven't been convinced of the compelling value of your app yet. And so retargeting gives you that opportunity to help convince them of the value and help them to take that next step with you. So it's a great way to lift your conversion rates. And there's a lot of different ways that you can do retargeting. I think the most basic level that I often see within the marketplace is just with your typical free trial retargeting ads. And these are a solid place to get started. But what I wanted to talk to you about today is really how to up your retargeting game. And going back to the idea that a lot of times the people who haven't completed that try and buy click and evaluation, they haven't been convinced of the compelling value of your app yet. So it really pays to expand your retargeting campaigns and be able to look at some other opportunities, like educating buyers on use cases for your app, showing them how others have succeeded using with your app, and if you have the data, showing them the ROI that they can derive from using the app. These can be really effective in bringing them back to convert. So see a little of this within the marketplace right now. We have the metadata magic retargeting ad for Communardo, and so here's an example of how you can use customer success stories and leverage your case studies in new ways in order to help build confidence in moving forward with your brand amongst potential buyers who haven't converted yet. Draw.io, they're doing a set of use case retargeting campaigns, helping you to understand the application value of the app for these specific use cases. And then Lucid is really using their logos and customer success stories in order to provide valuable social proof to overcome any reluctance around moving forward with any valuation. So when you're looking at retargeting, there are a couple of components to consider. One is going to be audience segmentation. So you can segment your audience based on platform, whether they went to the marketplace listing and did not initiate any valuation. Maybe they went to your website, they were browsing around and didn't make their way to the marketplace listing, or maybe they watched one of your videos on social media, didn't go to your website or your marketplace listing. So each of these segments are in different phases of their buying journey. And so we want to be able to segment out to figure out which phase they're in, and then based on their behaviors, figure out what the next step is with our retargeting campaigns. And so if they're if they're just looking with engaging with your social content, then the next opportunity and the next step in their journey might be to explore use cases on your website. If they're browsing your website, then maybe they need to be introduced to more use cases or social proof in order to drive them to the listings page to convert. And if they've made it to your listing and they haven't converted, then social proof and ROI is a great way to remove any reluctance around moving forward with you. And then, of course, you can also retarget your evaluators. And here again, social proof and ROI ads can help ensure that they convert from those 30-day free trials to actually purchased installations. Okay, so those are our 3 plays for 2024. Really hope that they were valuable to you, and I'll take any questions. Before I do, we have one more poll for you. We're going to be doing more webinars this year, and I want to discover what would be most valuable to the ecosystem for me to cover next. So please just take a minute to complete this poll, and this will help us ensure that we're delivering valuable content to you in future webinars. And then after that, we'll dive into the Q&A. Okay, awesome. Thank you all for completing the poll. I'll go ahead and take some questions now. Let me see. I'll start with Selena. Thank you for your question. Referring to the Comunardo campaign, what were the metrics you observed? Did you determine how many app installs there were from this, and if so, how? Or did you focus only on ebook leads? So we did not focus only on ebook leads. Wouldn't be a very valuable metric for us. It's a nice leading indicator. We were ultimately concerned with evaluations and measuring evaluations growth for the campaign. And so this campaign did and has driven significant results for the business. It's something that we launched 2 years ago, and Comunardo continues to run and recycle the campaign even now because it's been so effective for them. All right. Let's see. I'm going to. Yi Chen, can I get you to take some of these questions? Particularly, there's a question here which I think is great. Which social networks to use for ads? I have my thoughts and biases, but Yi Chen, who heads up our performance team, is the expert. So let me defer to her and get her to jump in with an answer.
Hi all. I'm not sure if you guys are able to see my face, but I think for social media wise, what we have seen more success in it will be LinkedIn, and for previously, before the whole privacy concerns and GDPR and whatnot that was happening, we do see a lot of success with Facebook as well, especially on the targeting side of things, because Meta or Facebook has been able to target and capture interests of audience really well. So yeah, we've seen more success with LinkedIn as for now. Yeah. We are currently doing testing out with Reddit as well. So Reddit would be more on the interaction and engagement side of things. It's more of awareness and building impressions. Yeah.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Yichen.
Oh, I
I
just
have
realized
another.
my camera was not working. Sorry.
That's okay. I have another ad question, so I'll let you tackle that one as well.
Ad question. And pull it out. Oh, which one are you
What
referring to, Matthew?
what kind of ad platforms would be suitable for retargeting campaigns?
Retargeting, most of the time we will opt for display or Google retargeting and also LinkedIn retargeting, because for Google side, we are able to build the audience directly using GA4. We are also able to build the audience and also segment the audience accordingly and run very targeted and customized campaign based on the user's behavior on your website. So for retargeting, we will typically opt for Google display or Performance Max or those relevant platforms in Google. And also we are able to see a good retargeting campaigns metrics in LinkedIn. So that would also be a good platform to test out if you have a targeted list of companies or targeted list of audience that you would like to test out to retarget them in LinkedIn. That would be also a good platform, because LinkedIn is able to match your audience list pretty well.
Awesome. And I've seen Lucid doing some interesting thing targeting specific banks, for instance, and like Wells Fargo. Here's why all your competitors are using Lucidchart, and so there is some interesting things you can do there with the company targeting. Yichen, this is, I'm going to have to add you as a co-host because there's a great question here, a follow-up question from Selena on tracking evals. And so I'd love to get you to jump on that one as well. So how do you track evals? Because it's tricky for many of us to track conversions to the end.
For evals wise, wait, can I get the questions? Okay, how do you track evals? Because it's tricky for many of us to track conversion to the end. Yes, it is also tricky for us. So thanks for the question, because it's a good one. So what we have been able to do so far is to test how evals are attributed in Atlassian site. So if I'm not wrong, all vendors here are able to access the portal and you are able to see who are the evals that are coming in and so forth. But then we noticed that if we were to pass the parameters well from let's say from your website, the UTM parameters is passed on well to your marketplace listing. And once they click on the try and buy clicks, typically the entire journey would be captured, even though if it is the admin who installed your trial. yeah, but the first initiator will still be captured as well in terms of that. So that is the best we could have for now. But in terms of tracking conversions from end to end, I think there will not be 100% accuracy in that sense, but I think at least capturing like a 60 or 70% would be sufficient to paint us a good picture on what exactly is working and what's not for marketing wise. Yes. Does that answer the question?
I think so. Yeah, Selena, if it did not, please hit us with a follow-up.
Yeah, and
Great.
It's also 11:50 p.m. on my end, so I'm trying to brain everything and convey it in a proper sense. So let me know if it doesn't make sense, and we'll send you a follow-up email after this.
Selena said all clear. Thanks. Thank you, Selena. Let's see. Next up, Nar. Great question. So I don't have data. I just have some insight based on experience here. And so how important is proper branding for marketplace apps? Do you have any data on this? Historically, we're a full service agency, and we do brand development and brand strategy as a part of our portfolio of work, and it's a strength of ours. But historically, I've actually guided a lot of marketplace partners not to put too much investment in that, because the marketplace has been more focused on the product and solving technical requirements. And you can see a lot of examples of partners with terrible branding out there who have thousands and tens of thousands of installs. So it hasn't been a priority in terms of recommended investments in the past. That said, in a very saturated marketplace, with thousands of apps and competitors, I can only expect that having a strong visual identity is going to be of growing importance within the marketplace, and particularly within marketing channels. Being able to stand out. And then as you're building a portfolio of apps, when you have a portfolio, then I think it becomes incredibly powerful to have a brand unite that portfolio under the company's vision, mission, and values, and just improve the perception of the products overall. So more opinion than data, but I hope that's helpful. Thanks, Star. All right, let's see. All right. David, thanks for your question. So could you show examples of pillar pages, and how would you structure them? I don't have any sitting in my back pocket for this presentation, but I'd be happy to shoot you over some examples via email afterwards. And so I think I have your email. Anyone else who would like to get some examples, and I'll just send you links of effective pillar pages, then just drop me a note and I'll shoot you an email after this. Actually tomorrow when I wake up, because it's just about midnight. How would I structure them? So a pillar page is going to be a broad overview of the topic, and so if you have, to give you an example, if you were doing a pillar page on backlog grooming and say you have an app that assists with backlog grooming, then you're going to want to have an overview of why backlog grooming is important. You might want to cover some differentiating details and link to subtopics around, what's the difference between a product backlog and a sprint backlog. You talk about how to actually do this. So, how do you improve the Scrum refinement process? And then you'd probably want to talk about challenges for what happens when you don't do this right. So, why projects fail because of poor backlog grooming. And so you'd want to cover key topics within that theme at a high level, and each one is basically teaser, introducing people to the concept that you have to teach them, and then linking to that subtopic page where they can learn in depth. I hope that's helpful, and I will send you those examples tomorrow, David. Let's see. There's a question. Are we going to share the recording? Yes, we are. So we'll share the recording for the on-demand webinar within the next day or two. As soon as we get that completed, we'll send that to everyone. And of course, if any of you have follow-up questions, we're happy to help with those as well. We're in this ecosystem to serve the partners and help you grow. We realize, and we've seen over the past that when we do that well, we also grow as a business. So appreciate your guys' support in attending today, and let me know how we can continue to serve you after this. Let me see if I can get one or two more questions here. Let's see. I think this is an interesting question, Yi Chen, if I can loop you in one more time.
Yes.
Thank you. So how do you identify potential customers who click the try button on the marketplace that they came from your campaigns? I guess it's easy to catch the input on the marketplace listing, but how do you know that those who are trialing are from campaign?
If you are able to catch, in this case, if you are already able to catch the input on the MP, then you should be able to tell which campaign it is from, because if you have set the UTM parameters to capture the campaigns, I believe it should be showing up in your marketplace evals data as well. Yeah, does that help? Yeah.
I think maybe one potential gap, and correct me if I'm wrong, Yi Chen, is that the person who is responding to your campaign and coming to the product may not have installation permissions, and so they may be sending a request to the admin to evaluate the app and install it. In which case, there's kind of a analog gap that I don't think we're able to overcome.
Yes, but the initiator that send the try and or hit on the try and buy clicks to initiate the installation from the admin side, it basically will also show up as the in the evals data, it will show up as the initiator's UTM parameters in there. So by right, if the if it's captured correctly, everything is done correctly, it should still show up as the first touch campaign in the UTM parameters in the evals data.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah,
Thanks,
but that
Chen.
is what we have tested and discovered so far. So also do let us know if it doesn't apply on your side, because that's what we are seeing from our side.
Okay, great. Then I think that brings us to the end of today's webinar. There were a bunch of questions and we weren't able to get to them all, so we'll try to shoot you responses to those in the next day. And I really hope that you guys got value from this webinar, and look forward to hopefully seeing you on future webinars. So thank you so much for your support, and thanks for joining us today. Have a great 2024, guys.